Hey, YouTube, we are live. This is Adarsh Williams coming to you from Groningen in the Netherlands, and it's a beautiful day here. I'm going to pop onto Instagram here in a couple of minutes too. So as I'm getting set up, I have a few things with me, some balls, and let's see, hopefully everything will be on camera. Hopefully the camera is level as well. Let me tilt it just slightly. Something like that will be good enough. Let me jump onto the Instagram as well. So as all of this is booting up, I also have made a little configuration here with a yoga belt, just a standard yoga belt. And I've got it into the doorway. And you can do this by taking a solid towel, or I just took the strap and I bolted it into the door. And I'm not going to pull on it too hard, but just enough to support my weight and the joint capsule. So I have my heavy band as well. And we're going to be going through the Lotus sequence. So the Instagram will pop on in just 1 minute and we'll be officially ready. I should put the links for you guys down in the description, but today we are working from the Mysore body course. And here I'm going through some of the strength and mobility sequences to create more mobility in the hip joint. And of course, that will improve your Lotus prep. And I called it the Lotus prep instead of the Lotus. You might not do the full Lotus today, but you can begin building toward that. So hopefully the Instagram is going to pop on here too. Sorry, guys, give me 1 minute while I work on getting the Instagram to go live as well. So if you do want to check out any of the materials, you can always link to it here on YouTube. I have the links in the box there. And on my website, smartstretch.com, we will have all of the links as well. So let's see. Oh, man, why is it not connecting? Oh, wow. Shoot. I was not on the Instagram. Okay, that explains that. Maybe, sorry guys. Well, this is terrible content for the YouTube. My apologies in advance. Trying to do two things at once. Here we are. Okay, now we're going to officially begin. Hey, IG Live and hey, YouTube. Thank you all for joining me today. Adarsh Williams coming to you from Groningen and the Netherlands. Today, we're working on the strength and mobility related to the full lotus pose. And we might not do the full lotus today, but we're going to begin prepping toward that. Today, we're going to be using a couple of massage balls. I'm using the Slings and Motions balls. These are great, a little bit squishy. Maybe you're using something else. Even a tennis ball will work. I also have my kettlebell here for some muscle smashing into the deep tissues there. You can maybe have a friend smash you, and I just have a standard issue yoga mat. Actually, not so standard. It's the Manduka yoga block, so it's nice and heavy. I also have a configuration with my yoga belt, and I'll show you how I have it tied to the door here in a second, the Instagram, but this will be useful for some of the joint distraction work. So that's it. We're going to work today from the Mysore body. This is the 10th module in the Mysore body course. Nice to see you jumping on and visiting with me. If you have any questions, feel free to type into the comments. I'm going to read along here, which is great. And it's so nice to see people actually joining on the multiple live streams. So if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to pop in and ask away. Here, we're working on the joint capsules, the fascia, and the muscles of the hips. The lotus pose, of course, shows up again and again in the yoga practice. And even if you can't do the full lotus yet, you can work on the hip rotation and the dynamics there. So even if it's not perfect, it's actually kind of nice that you have something to work with. If it were easy, it would be boring. So here we're going to work on a little bit of soft tissue release. We're going to start with the outer hip smash. So the outer hip is around the greater trochanter bone. So it's that hard bone you can feel right on the side of your hip. And this is a great resource. If you imagine the top of the shoulder here, where you know it's always tight and you love to have someone dig their elbow in, well, that's basically the greater trochanter. So we're going to work all around this area, all of the muscle and fascia connections. So it's pretty easy. You just put that ball down on the hard bone and you start to work into that area. So the main thing that I always remember when I'm working into these tissues is what Ida Rolf said, who created Rolfing. Ida Rolf said that you want to get into a position and then add movement. So that's what we're doing here. We're getting into that position, and now I'll add movement. And my leg is going to do all types of leg activities. And I can imagine spending a minute or so in an area if it feels like, okay, that's tight, that's a good spot. Then I would work into that area for about a minute and then I would move on. And I would get incredibly creative in how I'm doing this because the area we're targeting is, you imagine, all around that greater trochanter, all around this area here at the side of the hip. So that's a little bit to the front and working into the joint, a little bit to the back, working into the back. Now, I'm going through this a little quickly so I can do a full demo for you, but I would encourage you, if you find a spot, if it feels tight and you're digging that ball into your hip joint and it feels tight, then definitely spend time there, work into it and breathe. So I did my right side. I'm going to say a minute. We'll flip over and do the left side. The hips will always feel a little different from each other. Don't worry, it's totally normal, a normal abnormal. So if you're getting into a position and you feel, okay, this side definitely tight, or maybe you don't have much feeling at all. And this can also be a big problem, is that we are disconnected. So these ball rolling exercises are not just about smashing on those muscle tissues. It's about awakening the feeling and the sense of embodiment in these areas. So that mind body connection. And to be honest with you, as I'm kind of talking and instructing here, I'm probably not feeling it as deeply as if I were just doing it in my free time uh, while I'm getting ready for bed, maybe even Netflixing and chilling, or maybe even just following along with me in the video. So I'm working, I found a good spot while I was chatting with you, and now I'm just adding some movement. So the movement is pretty non-specific. I do know that, well, if I were to bring my knee up more, I'm going to be stretching, and that's great. If I were to move my knee out, then I'm going to be contracting, and that's also nice. So that contract and relax effect. But it's not just this way and this way, it's all around. It's anything that I can imagine the leg doing throughout its leg day. It's a leg day. And I already know, so I'm on my left side here, and I already know that this is an especially needed area on me. So I'll spend some more time with that later. For now, I want to move on. I want to get you into another mobilization. So the first one was the outer hip bone. And you can probably notice if you were to just plop your knees open, sitting crisscross applesauce, you can probably feel that you've already increased the rotation there. So nice to see you guys joining in and saying hi to me. I really appreciate it. Also, you guys on the YouTubes over here, so cool. The next one is the quad smash. And I just did a post yesterday talking about visiting Thailand. So, Thailand is the front of the thigh, I guess we would say in English. So, this area is a great one to work with the heavy kettlebell if you're so inclined. Let me start with the right leg first, just to be consistent. Now, if you have a good friend, they could also put their foot on you, so like a little shiatsu massage. And this is a 24 kg, so around 50 pounds or so kettlebell. So it's pretty heavy. And I'm going to hold it to support because it does feel pretty uh, tight there on the thigh. Whew. Thailand can get a little hot sometimes. So as you're there, remember to breathe and contract and relax the muscles. That when you're inhaling and contracting the thigh muscle, the muscle will push back a little bit. And then when you exhale, try to find a bit more release. And you want to go through and just assess the situation for yourself. And I can already tell that, wow, my Thailand is so tight. But it makes sense. I ride my bike a lot every day. So just for transportation. So I think that part of living in the Netherlands is that you're going to have some tight Thailand. So no problem. It is grist for the mill. You can really enjoy working into these areas. Now, if you do not have the kettlebell to smash the thigh, if you don't have a friend to come by and smash the thigh, you can always use your yoga block, and I'll show you how to do that now for my other side. So I'm starting usually toward the attachments of muscles. So the first pressure I might put would, let's say, be down the knee, or I might start at the hip, depending on the day. And it's nice to experiment with it. And then I would finish always with the belly of the muscle. So that's just the sort of go-to procedure there, working to the attachments and then the belly of the muscle afterwards. So using my yoga block here, oh, my head is being cut off. Let me try to keep the whole self on the camera here. So I'm going to put the yoga block, or if you have a foam roller, that's even better. I'm just going to put that under my thigh, and now I'll add movement. So remember the contracting movement, that's where I'm trying to straighten out that knee, and then the relaxing movement, and that's where it's being put into the stretch. If that feels like I can add more pressure, then by all means, you can stack the other leg on top. You can add a bit more pressure there. Ah, I don't like it when my head's being cut off the camera. So let me try with the foam roller as well. And of course, this is where you can get the double action. So on the foam roller, you can put both thighs on top. And this is a classic. So we're just working now up into the hip joint attachment. And I can even go one by one just by adding a bit more lean to one side or the other. So this is how to smash into the tissues related to the thigh. The post I did yesterday was related to strengthening and stretching the thigh. So I thought it would be nice to go through that here as well. To activate your thigh muscle, you can start by sitting on top of the feet. If this is new for you, then this is a good place to start. If you're more flexible, maybe you're an experienced yoga practitioner, you can start to sit all the way down through to the inside of the feet. So you're down to the floor, increasing internal hip rotation, which is great for your stability here. Now, the hands will walk back maybe 10 centimeters or so, just rocking back, and then we'll start to push up through the thigh. The idea here is that the pressure is on the front, nothing on the back, nothing on the knee. So keep your feet pressing down. So I would want to inhale. That's where I'm squeezing, really tightening up, squeezing the bottom, squeezing the thigh. And then from time to time, I can try to get a bit more space and maybe I can walk in a bit more. So going bit by bit. Slowly, slowly. And you might find that walking onto the feet itself, like a camel pose, is even more comfortable for you. And then all the way up. You can do one at a time as well. So, doing one at a time, basically, you just release one foot. And this will be a bit easier for you if it's new or uncomfortable. And let's face it, this is a very intense area for most people. Many people I've observed do not have the full range of motion through that knee flexion. So it's a tough one to get started with, but it's worth spending some time here. So we'll do the other side as well. You can also combine techniques where you're doing a combination of contracting and relaxing, and you can even add some tissue smashing. You could have your friend stand on your thigh as you push up, or even if she just puts her hand here, or your own hand, and you can feel how the muscles, the fascia, everything is a little tight, so it's being stretched and pulled. And then gradually you can get more release into that area. Okay. So that is the strengthening and stretching related to the thigh. Let's keep things rolling here. We're going to continue into the joint capsule. So I'm just going to have a quick look if there's been any comments popping up. Nice to see that I actually do have viewers here. So cool to see. And if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up as we go. We're going to work into the joints themselves. And this is one of the areas that when I was really starting my research into flexibility, mobility, this was an area that was quite useful for me. Often we think about stretching around the muscles or the fascia, but we don't always think about the joint capsules themselves. So this can make a huge difference. And I would use either the yoga belt, which I think most people have a yoga belt, or the resistance band as well. And I'm going to show you both. So let me turn the camera a little so you can see my setup here. So I've just in my doorway here, I've taken a yoga belt and a lifting strap, and I've anchored that into the doorway. You can experiment even just with a sturdy towel, like a kitchen towel, something that's really sturdy. You can also hook that through the door. Or if you have some kind of dedicated anchor for this, maybe in your yoga studio or even at the gym or outside. Anyway, you'll figure it out. And then the just normal yoga belt, just a long yoga belt. And I'm also going to show you with my resistance band, the heavy monster bands. And I have a number of videos related to these monster bands because they are fantastic. They give such good feedback for you and the joint capsule. But I'll show you each. So first things first, we're going to do the front of the hip. So we're distracting the leg bone forward into the hip joint. And I'll start with the left leg here, just so you can see. Now, you'll pull the belt up just under the gluteal fold. And when you're loading up there, you move the body weight back so you can start to resist the pulling of the belt forward. And I'm sure already you can begin seeing how now this yoga belt is pulling my femur head forward into the hip joint. And what is really great about this is that instead of trying to do one of these lunge stretches where I'm trying to drop my hips low, instead, I'm able to isolate much better where I want into the joint capsule itself. So the joint capsule is going to be made up of these fascias, these synovial joint components, as well as the capsule itself. And these bones can actually move in the joint. And in fact, when we're doing yoga, when we're doing movement, we're always hopefully moving these joints anyway. The belt is great because you can get a much better sense of that isolation. Now, if I were to start adding just a slight variety of movement, so I've just added a little bit of internal rotation here, well, that changes now the trajectory of that bone. So I just make a slight change or even a slight movement. And I'm not doing anything too wild or fast here. I'm keeping it very slow and I'm just breathing. So think about doing some meditation on the joint capsule itself. Usually 2 to 3 minutes is great. Afterwards, just standing up, and you can usually feel quite a difference. The feeling is that the front of the hip is empty. So your front hip pocket feels empty. So I'll do my other side and I'll use this resistance band. So the heavy monster band, and these are everywhere. You can find them. I've seen them now at most sporting stores. We'll have some type of 42-inch monster band like this. Now, the quality is varying. The best ones are this Sri Lankan latex, and it has a much nicer feel on the skin. This is one of the just cheap ones I bought for probably €8 or so at the Decathlon, just a big sporting store. So I think you can get these everywhere. And I do have links to these on Amazon. So if you guys want to support the channel, you can always link to it through my Amazon link. Anyway, commercial's over. Back into the resistance here. The monster band I like because it gives me more feedback. When I'm doing my contract and relax, the monster band is something that I can really feel, wow, that distraction so much more through the hip. So the yoga belt is nice because it is quite static and you'll feel very stable. So if you're new to this stuff, that may be a better feel for you. For those of you that want something a bit more dynamic and that band is going to work with you or you can work with it, the heavy bands are fantastic. So anyway, this side is not so easy to show you the movement, but I would just essentially contract and relax and work into it from here. 2 minutes or so, and then moving on with my life. So we've worked into the front hip. Now we're going to distract the femur bone back into the hip joint. And this is one that, as a brand new yoga student, I wish I would have known. So I'm so happy to share this with you today. Hopefully, I'm still on the camera for everyone. I'll just turn a little bit here so you can track me. I tell you what, I'm going to save time and I'll just do a double hip distraction. So I put both feet in. I have the yoga belt right up at my hip joint there. Okay. So if you want to feel where the hip joint is just by lifting the legs one at a time, and you can feel where that leg bone goes into the hip socket. So I have that belt really low. That way, when I start to hinge forward, you see I'm hinging now from the hip joint. And hopefully, this is still showing on camera well that the yoga belt is pulling my femur bone back and into the hip socket. And as I was researching, I discovered something called acetabular impingement. And I was so interested to observe that in many modern people, this hip joint has become impinged. So when many yoga students are doing something like a forward bending posture, like I'm doing now, that it's not so much the hamstring that is tight, sometimes it is the femur bone itself that is blocking the hip joint. So instead of moving into a nice fold, that the individual will feel this area is just pinching. And so there is no stretch along the back. So this type of banded distraction is fantastic for helping to put that femur bone into the right spot where you want it. And notice that I'm just adding movement, right? So we're still using Ida Rolf's P of getting into a position and then adding movement. And all kinds of movement, whatever you can imagine here, you're just trying to loosen up the entire area or just getting a better kinesthetic feel of the entire area. Notice when I come out that I push my hips forward into the belt. So once again, using the heavy resistance band is an incredible asset as well. But I'm going to keep this party moving. Hopefully, if you were to do a retest afterwards and just testing your range of motion, you would feel pretty flexible, pretty loose in the hip and the hamstring. So good to see you guys. I'm going to keep it moving here. We should finish up now just with the actual movements toward getting into our lotus itself. Now, the next phase will be a weighted stretching technique using your yoga block, or if you do have a weight, this is too much, but I might use, so the yoga block, this is a heavy one, so maybe it's around a half of kilo or something like that. Using something heavier like a kilo or 5 pounds of a weight plate, I think might be the sweet spot for this one. So we're going to do the bound angle position. And for the bound angle, if you are just beginning this pose, which in itself might be pretty tight, then it's good just to sit on something. So instead of moving into some crazy advanced pose, you might be sitting up on your throne so that you can begin initiating the movement, getting the pelvis to tilt forward, which helps you to release the inner thighs, to release the groins, and they start moving down. Okay, so this in itself is such a fantastic position. And if you're working on your hip mobility, this is just a great place to start. Again, elevating the hips so that you can begin that initiation, tilting the pelvis forward. If this is comfortable for you, if you feel like you're ready to move on with the next stages, then that's great. I always recommend some of this side to side movement where you're using one hand at a time to clean the gutter. So, cleaning the gutter means that you're trying to empty out the front part of the hip. So, right around here where it gets very tight, these areas are often being pinched up through sitting, through posture, through movement. So, you're running, you're riding your bike, you're walking, you're always contracting into these gutters. So, it's great to spend some time there. If you are good to go and you want to start adding some more to your situation, you begin the hinge process. And in the hinge, we want to keep the back straight and that we're moving from the hip hinge itself. Okay. And I would just work in and out of these movements. So I'm exhaling to go forward and then inhaling to return. And I just spent some time doing that, exhaling forward and inhaling to return. You might choose to add some slight angle to the movement. So you're going a little bit to one side and the other. Okay. So you're very patient about this movement in itself. If it's something that you feel like you can add a bit more weight, great. You can inhale and exhale a little stronger into your forward fold. So if you want to make it even heavier for yourself, you can exhale, inhale, even heavier, the hands behind the head. Keep the head pushing into the hands so you're able to exhale and inhale. Even heavier, the arms overhead. Exhale, inhale. Heaviest is to then use your weight. So again, the yoga block or your 5 kilo weight plate as you exhale with control. And also save the return ticket so that you're able to make your way up with control. So I would collect several of these, and you'll notice that you warm up a little bit more each time. Once this feels pretty good, then you can open the angle and we go through the same process. In the open angle position, you can always start with the knees bended. Even for flexible people, this is a great strategy that by pushing down through the heel, you feel your hamstring muscles active. So when you go forward, when you go into your hinge shape, you will have more control through the hinge position. Okay. Oh, my YouTube feed is a little blurry, so let me see what's happening in YouTube land there. Ah, there we go. The camera was working too hard to focus, I think. So let me keep things rolling here. So eventually you'll add up into a full straight leg position. And then just like the last pose, you can make it a little heavier by putting the hands. And you can make it a little heavier by taking the arms overhead, inhaling in the up position, and exhaling slowly, slowly in the down. Always save your return ticket though. So the feeling is one of strength and control all the way through. So I would collect somewhere between 5 and 10 repetitions of these body weight hinges. Finally, we are ready for the lotus pose itself. Now, in the lotus, we want this hip external rotation, just like you did in the earlier butterfly pose. We'll add an element though, keeping the right shin in front of you, stack the left on top of the right. This is the double pigeon pose. Now, you want both feet to be flexed here. Active feet is going to help keep the knees in a good position and help to keep the pressure into the hip joint where you want it. Now, if you are pretty tight here and you find your knee is like way up here and you're having trouble to make progress, then you can always do it on your back. When you're on your back, you'll have a bit more of a mechanical advantage in starting to pull the leg in. It's also a little easier to add movement. So the feeling is in the outer hip joint here. Now, for those of you who are in the double pigeon position and this is feeling good enough for you, then you can begin walking forward with the hands. Now, I would encourage you to start to scour all through that hip joint. That means adding movement. You'll notice that when you walk the hands to the left side, you will feel more pressure in the right hip. And when you walk to the right side, you will feel more pressure into that left hip. And basically, you're just finding that sweet spot and you're breathing here. After, I would spend a couple of minutes and then switch to the other side. So now with the right foot on top, you would begin the same process. So you have a good alignment, the feet are active, no pressure on the knee. The pressure itself is in the hip joint. The front of the hip, the gutter is empty, so you have a nice empty gutter. That way, when you go forward, the pressure moves into the back of the hip where you want it. And remember to scour. It's just like when I'm washing the pot after cooking up the pasta, you always have to scrub all of those little nooks and crannies, every corner of the pot to make sure that you've got it all. Get all of the starch out of your hip. Then you are ready. Assuming that you can sit in the double pigeon pose and that your knees are down below your hips, like I'm demonstrating, then you're probably ready to begin the full lotus position. If you don't make it into the full lotus, you might pause at any point along the way. So it's okay to stop. Now, what will happen is that the right foot that we have on top now is going to begin its journey in. Think about the heel toward the navel. So the foot fits nicely into that left hip joint. And just to show you here, it should be more inside of the hip joint. So not over to the outside of the joint. This is a common error here, but to the inside of the hip joint. In fact, there's a crease for your foot. It's an intelligent design. And then once you have that position, if your knee is lower than your hip, then you're probably okay to add the full lotus position, just putting the left foot on top. If that doesn't seem realistic or a good idea, slide it underneath and you have the half lotus. And what I would recommend then is to sit in the half lotus for some time, 5 breaths, let's say, and then we'll switch and doing the other side. So the left heel toward the navel, always keeping your foot pointed when you're moving into the position so you have more structure through your body. And then you can slide the right foot underneath so you have the lotus, the half lotus on the other side. Or if you want to do a inverted lotus, you can always slide that right foot on top of the left. So you have some options there for the lotus posture itself. I'm going to switch back over to the normal way as per my training and conditioning here. So in the lotus pose itself, there's even a journey there. And for many of you who've done advanced yoga, you know that the lotus pose itself is the base of so many postures. So if you're working to deepen your already developed lotus, then it's great. You can squeeze the knees together. So when you squeeze the knees, that will start to increase the rotation in the hip, so it's a deeper position. Also, by walking forward, and you'll notice that you get even more stretch into the hip, and you can move into the yoga mudra position. Just like we did earlier, you can also scour the lotus from side to side. And I would recommend creating all types of movements from the lotus posture. Just by sitting in the lotus, it will continue to improve your hip rotation. Or, of course, just sitting in a classic meditation posture is excellent in itself. I'm going to move toward the end of the lesson here, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining the Padmasana, the Lotus Step by Step today. Again, this is from my course, the Mysore Body. And in this Mysore Body course, available through the link there, it's on Substack. You can find all of the mobilizations for the body. So, how I massage and smash, and how I work with the joint capsules for the entire body, as well as how to work on the 5 peak poses that we see within yoga. Last week, we worked on the full back bend, the full Urdhva Dhanurasana position. Today is the lotus. The other 3 are the deep hip poses. So some of the more extreme postures, like a foot behind the head, and the handstand and the jump through movements, as well as the twist and binding action. So these are the 5 primary categories of movement that we see within yoga postures. So we have all of these strength and mobility exercises there for you. If you have any questions, please hit me up, send me a DM, and I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Have a great start to your week, a great start to your September. It's already that time again. So I look forward to seeing you next week. We'll do this again and we'll work into the deep hip poses. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, guys. Thanks.